Good morning. This is Judy from Artistic Artifacts, and we are in Alexandria, Virginia, and online 24/7. So good morning. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. We're have a busy day ahead of us at this store, delivering machines for the holidays. So we still have a few left, so please, by all means, think of us if you're looking for a new Bernina, and we will be happy to take care of you. There's lots of wonderful sales going on. Please, if you're not in the area, talk to the dealer that's nearest you. That's part of what we do, and part of what Bernina supports is that we're customer service, we're your community, we're your contact, and so that's very important to us at Artistic Artifacts, that you're not just purchasing a machine, you're purchasing a community and a shop, and hopefully some people who can help you through some troubles if you get stuck. So that's be aware that Bernina is the one manufacturer that I'm aware of that really supports that. So we thank that and hope that you remember us when you need a new machine, or you'd like another machine. It's okay. More than one is good. So we're going to talk about threads today. Of course, I have some announcements. We are into our last week of our fundraiser, and thank you so much for people who have donated. We truly appreciate it. We are raising funds for the Leukemia Society, and it's a blood cancer that takes young and old people from us, and way too soon. So one of the things that we've noticed is that this society will also give support to the person who's battling it, as well as research. So those are some of the things that we look at. And we have a week. If you would like a chance to win a quilt, so we have 6 quilts, and they're all photographed and up on the website. So $10 gets you a random drawing, an entry into a random drawing for each one of those quilts. If you're not interested in a quilt, that's okay. My feelings are not hurt whatsoever. We have another way for you to donate directly to the Leukemia Society on Instagram and Facebook, both our Artistic Artifacts, our Facebook page and Instagram page. So that's available to you as well. Remember, the quilts can also be a gift. They can be a gift to you, they can be a gift to someone else, but great opportunity to have some hand-created fiber artwork. So we ask for your continued support in that, and again, thank you so much for the people that have already contributed and supported our cause. The other thing I want to tell you is that we will have some reduced holiday hours the week between Christmas and New Year's. So we are always closed on Sunday, Monday, and that will stay true to around the holidays as well. And then that week we'll be open 10 to 3 Tuesday through Saturday. And please make sure that you are on the newsletter list, because we will have some information about a special sale. So it's in addition to the solstice sales that we have going on right now, and the solstice sale this week is 25% off of Wonderfill threads, all of the Wonderfill threads, hand stitching as well as machine stitching. So that's one of the reasons why we're talking about Wonderfill today with machine stitching. So that's going on now, and then we have some special things going on at the end of December. The first week in January, so from the 3rd, which is a Tuesday, to Friday, we are going to be closed, and we're taking inventory. It's about time. So we're actually hoping to do a little tiny bit of remodeling. We're not quite sure when that will happen in January, but just know that there's exciting things coming down the pike. We also have had a comment sold on Thursday evening. That is the best way to shop. That is to download the app, and you can go back to replays. We have some great pricing on some what we consider to be starter kits, advanced kits, things that you can give as gifts to yourself. Again, we're all about taking care of self-care, or to someone else. I know that there's one that has a gel press and cards, and pretty much you could give that to someone, or again to yourself, and you can start printing with a gel press, a monoplate. You don't need to buy anything else. We've provided everything for you. So really, we're giving you an opportunity to try some new things, or some hand stitching in there, but it is available, comment sold. So you download the app, you go to your app store, search Artistic Artifacts, and you download the app, set up an account, and you can shop at any time. Oops, there goes my thread tamer. So that's what we just had that on Thursday evening, and we will go forward with that next year as well. We are going to start mapping out next year. We have had discussions. We may not have the minute individual details, but we're going to start putting in the class and event section a save the date. So our first save the date is for our Indian Bazaar. We are going to have a Creative Mind Summit. We'll have a Creative Quest. And so we'll start blocking out these days and giving you a heads up, because these events are worth traveling for. I know lots of people say, oh, my kid is in Washington, D.C. or near you, or I have friends and I have a place to stay. We also have some hotels. So we're trying to give you some heads up. A lot of times people will meet friends from different parts of the country here. So please look for that. We'll make announcements in the newsletter, but it will also be on the website if you want to go ahead and check that. So that's something we're doing this year. Okay, let's see. We will have, and have scheduled, it's on the website, a class using the CAIF special edition machines. So this is the 770 machine, and we have a 475. So the registration includes all of the fabric for this quilt. So you're getting a kit, you're getting the opportunity to sew on a new Bernina, and obviously you're getting the opportunity to buy the Bernina that you've been sewing on. But this will be taught by Kathy Lincoln, and it's an all-day class, and we hope that you will join us. It is limited seating because, of course, the machines and the space. So please don't wait to register. If you're interested, go ahead. As long as you have some sewing ability, knowledge of quilting makes life a lot easier. So it's, you know, kind of beginner intermediate type class. So if you've never sewed on a sewing machine, this is not the right place for you. We can direct you to where you need to be, and but this one will be a lot of fun.
I would just like to say thank you, Anne, for tuning in from Norway. We appreciate
Anne
it.
from Norway, thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to have people represent all areas of the world.
Also, someone said you're pretty in pink.
I'm pretty in pink, thank you. It's new. So thanks. Okay, so let's talk about thread. I have learned a lot about thread. When I first opened my store, I actually didn't have thread because I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge. And again, like anything, it's endless. The knowledge is endless. One of the reasons why we sell Wonderfill is because of their education. They're very much about educating you about the threads. We used to have thread talks here pre-pandemic. We haven't quite gotten back into that. So this is our first little foray into that. There's lots of very, very active social media, very active YouTube, very active educational support. So that was one of the reasons is about the education. Liz Kettle, as you know, my partner in crime for many, many years, who is now on the West Coast, worked with Wonderfill, education, sales, support, artist support. So I was very influenced by Liz, and of course Andrew and his staff are absolutely wonderful, produce a very high quality thread. Now, with that being said, those are my reasons for choosing Wonderfill. There's a lot of thread out there. So everyone will have a specific thread that they like. I would encourage you to try different threads. When I first started sewing my mixed media quilts, I only used rayon. I didn't know about cotton. See, that's why I didn't sell thread, because I wasn't sure. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, those aren't even the 2 choices. There's a million choices. And there's just ways of using them and seeing what the differences are and playing. Sometimes I don't think we take enough time to just play. Stamp a print, do some free motion, do some use your BSR, Bernina Stitch Regulator, do some things just to do them, not for, just to learn what your machine will do and what the thread does and what you can do and that type of stuff. Kyle, you gave me a face.
Our friends from Northern Ireland are on.
Oh!
And they complimented at the shop at their quilt guild. Also, thank you to our friends in far up north Canada and far away, not really, Florida.
Florida. Northern Ireland, I didn't get to say goodbye and give you a hug. I'm so sorry. I went to do something and I missed you when you left. So thank you for coming to visit. We're so happy that we got an opportunity to meet you. So awesome. So that's kind of the why we have Wonderfill. Have I sewn with other threads? Yes. I've used Coats and Clark. I've used Aurifil. I've used junk I won't even tell you I sewed with, because truly you do want to buy good quality thread. Please, not the Joann's bin of 3 spools for $1. I'm begging you, don't do that. But these threads I felt gave a range, as I said, high quality. And we have a lot of wonderful store fixtures that show you all of this thread. When you walk into our store, you will see lots of thread. So what I want to try and do is walk you through a little bit and show you, and we're only talking about machine stitching. Kyle keeps giving me these smiley faces.
I'm liking comments, sorry.
That's okay, he's giving me my smiley faces. All right, so let's see. I have these great samples from Liz Kettle. She gave them to me. So let's just talk about cotton, because that's the first one. We're gonna probably go pretty quick through this, but I want you to see how wonderful 12 weight cotton is. Okay, so here's 50 weight, which is the standard. 50, 40 is just kind of what, as quilters, that's the thread that we know about and are familiar with and comfortable with. 100% cotton. Now, Wonderfill will run its thread through the flame twice. So I'm like, well, why does the thread not burn up? When somebody told me that, I was like, what? I don't get it. That is how the process of thread removes the lint. So most thread does it once, Wonderfill does it twice. So their cotton threads are gonna be a little bit lower lint. So if you can see, Kyle just showed you the sample, and there is hand stitching on that, but try not to get too excited about that yet. This is what happens with a 12 weight thread doing a decorative stitch. So see, it's much bossier than a 50. It's really pretty cool. So when I use this 12 weight thread, I put 50 in the bobbin. So that was one of the other things that I learned, is if you are having a threading issue, think about what thread you have in your top and your bottom. So if I have a 12 weight thread, that is the size that can go through your machine. Anything bigger than that can't go through your machine unless you do bobbin work. So you have 12 weight thread. I usually use Deco Bob, which is 80 weight thread. So it's way out here. So this is going to be tougher because there's such a wide gap between the sizes of your thread in your top and your bobbin. So when you use a 12 weight thread, I use a 50 weight in the bobbin. When I use a 50 weight, if I'm doing free motion, embroidery, and that type of stuff, 50s, 40s, 60s, I'm going to use an 80 weight in my bottom. Okay, so do you see this parallel? If you have too wide of a gap in the size of your top thread and your bobbin thread, you're going to have problems, tension problems. Know that when engineers create sewing machines, their perfect sewing is same thread in the top as the same thread in the bobbin. That's how they test everything. That's how all our machines, and I don't know about you, but I don't sew that way very often. So it really helped me a lot. So that is cotton. Now let me show you this one. I think some of you may have seen this one already, but this is a good example side by side, at least if I can point it out here. This is a hanky quilt. So this is my crazy quilt that I did. And let's see. So if you look over here, so you see this feather stitch here, decorative stitch. This is with 12 weight. This is with 50 weight. This is 50. This is 12. This is 12. So you can see how the difference is. And I just really love 12. And oh, by the way, you can hand stitch with that. We'll talk about that next week. But it's really quite wonderful. And you can see, you know, you have to be a little careful about what stitches you're going to pick, or if you have to elongate them, or you have to do any manipulation sometimes with a 12. But I can tell you, these were stitches from Bernina, stock pattern stitches. I had 12 weight in the top, and I had 50 weight in the bobbin, and that was it. I didn't touch my tension at all. Okay. Now, let's talk about some other threads. So, whew, it's hot in here. Rayon, poly. So we have two rayons. So Mirage, and they come on spools like this. Let's see, where to put my fast? Polyfast, Splendor. So these are all cone spools versus this type of spool. So this one is going to be a little bit shinier with the rayon. The Mirage is going to be a variegated, as you can see here in these samples. And Polyfast is what we, it's a little, not as shiny as the Splendor, but this is probably the strongest thread we have, Polyfast. Now, polyester is not your grandmother's polyester. Way back when, I don't know, years and years ago, polyester got a really bad name, and it was probably a really bad thread. But it's not anymore. It's very strong. It has some texture to it. I just remember polyester being squeaky and running and not having any texture to it. So that's all changed. They do what they call cottonizing this polyester. So you can use this on your thread painting, on your quilts. You can quilt your quilt with a walking foot and a decorative pattern and use a Mirage, use a Polyfast, use a Splendor. So you don't always have to use cotton. And you can use these threads top and bottom. So I think all quilts should be reversible unless they're hanging on the wall, and then it really doesn't matter. But if you're making a quilt that's a lap quilt, a bed quilt, or something like that, I think they should be reversible. So put a nice thread on the bottom. Put a nice fabric on the backing. So that's my opinion on that. You know, if you're going to spend the time, make it work both ways. Chris is routinely pieces her backs with her leftover fabric from her front. They're great. So these threads absolutely can be used on quilts. Polyfast is going to be the strongest one that you can versus the rayon ones. Okay? Do we have any questions so far, Kyle? Okay. No. Everybody still with me? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good. Jen and Chris. posting little comments.
Okay. All right. Now, I don't know where my Deco Bob sample went, but you have to trust me on that. This is Invisifil. And then we have another one that's Deco Bob. Okay, so Invisifil is a 100 weight thread, and Deco Bob is an 80 weight thread. So Invisifil comes in huge cones, like these guys. They come that way, or they come in these small multi-packs. It's popular for paper piecing because it's a very small, very strong. So if you're paper piecing, use the Invisifil. You'll be able to get some really nice little stitches there. My first experience with it was using a fill stitch. So we created a very small fill stitch, and on a panel, we used a batik panel, and then we took it and washed it. And all you see is texture. You don't see the thread. It's really amazing what it can do for texturing things. So again, think of how you can use it in specific projects. What about those of you who are doing wall art and you want to just show a texture? So when I create wall art, I try to have something that people can see from across the room and go, oh, that looks kind of interesting. And then when they come up and look at it, you're going to reward them with something like seeing this invisible stitching that's created this texture that they saw on the other side of the room. So that's Invisifil, 100 size weight thread. Wonderfil produces size 3 hand stitching thread to size 100 machine thread, and you can do hand stitching with English paper piecing. It's great. Okay, so Deco Bob comes in and Deco Bob, I love Deco Bob. It's 80 weight. So I started out using a 60 weight bobbin thread, and now I go to 80. And a lot of times I'm piecing with this. So I will use Deco Bob in the top and Deco Bob in the bottom. And I will have to adjust my tension just a smidgen, and then I can use this for piecing. Why do I use this for piecing? My seam is smaller. I don't have as much bulk. When you're doing embroidery, you should be using 80 weight Deco Bob because you don't have as much bulk on the back of your embroidery. Let's see if it's true.
We do also have a few questions.
Ah, or it's true. Let me just show you the back of this first. So that's Deco Bob in the bobbin. And it is much better to use that than using a 40 weight polyester on a regular basis, unless you're doing standing art type of stuff. That's, all right, what's the questions?
Sir, for quilting using a variegated thread, what do you use in the bobbin? Mirage,
I would use Deco Bob in the bottom. If you're doing some art quilting, if you're doing a lap quilt or something like that, then you could use Mirage in the top and Mirage in the bottom. You could use, but if I'm doing any kind of free motion, stitching, thread painting, that type of stuff, I always have Deco Bob in my bobbin.
When should you use cotton or polyester in quilt making?
It's really a choice. It's up to you. There is no right or wrong answer to that. Both can be used. We have a designer pack of thread that is a polyester that a lot of quilters are buying now because that's what they're using with quilting. It's inexpensive, it's a quality thread, it works in a serger, it works in a sewing machine, it works for quilting. There are no rules. You do what you want. I would say that if maybe it's going to get a lot of use, a quilt's going to get a lot of use, it's a baby quilt or a kid's quilt, and it's going to get washed lots of times, polyester might be the best thread for it. Cotton always works, so it's a choice.
And then last one, more of a niche question. Using Deco-Bob on the top seems to shred it when sewing with it. Using a 70 needle, any ideas to keep it from shredding? It's happens on both the B770 and the 790.
Try the next size up in the needle. Try an 80. And let's see what it says we're supposed to be using. That's some of the things, that's what's really nice about this.
Or you could, bring it down to the store today and Judy can look at it then.
Yes. So, where's Deco-Bob? Where's my Deco-Bob? There's my Deco-Bob. It says a 70-10 machine, but it also says 80-12 Microtex. I don't actually sew with a 70 needle at all. I don't think I do anyway. I usually won't go below an 80. I don't know why. I have no good reason for that. But try an 80 and see if that makes a difference. Just go the next size up. I know that when I used size 12 cotton thread and I was trying to sew with a 90 needle, I was getting shredding and breakage, and I went to a 100 needle like it tells you to do, and it was perfect and no problems at all.
And then the last one, I know that some of our wonderful associates have been responding to people in the comments, but in case you missed it, this video will be available for replay after we end it today. Give Facebook, some rendering time, maybe like 15-20 minutes tops, and then it'll be on our Facebook page under videos. So you can send it to your friends, you could catch up on what you missed in the beginning. And Chris, thank you so much. Have fun at the market.
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of information on YouTube. So, and Artistic Artifacts YouTube is where these actually also get stored as well. So you can see it in the Facebook feed, but it also will be on YouTube. And there's lots of other ones there with some information as well. Okay, so I'm going to have to talk faster because we have a class in here at 10:30. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is metallics. I didn't like metallics at first. I really, really did not like metallics. But they're very nice. They add some real sparkle. And if you use them correctly, they work very nicely. So here is some metallic. Look at this here. This has been handled so much. So metallics is a really high spun thread. So I do use Spotlight, which is Wonderfill metallic, and I use Deco-Bob in the bobbin. So I wind my own bobbins because I do have the large bobbins. We do not have any pre-wound for the large Bernina bobbins. But let me just show you my setup here because it's important when you're working with metallic threads. You need to give them space. You do not want to operate them on either one of these posts, okay? Do not use it. You must, for ease in using the metallic, you want it off your machine. Even in embroidery, you want it off your machine. So we have this great tool from Wonderfill. It's called Thread Tamer. And so I have my cone here with my metallic. It does have another piece that goes across here in case your metallic is on a spool. So of course it was in the drawer somewhere, I couldn't find it. I have, but this is how I use it because I usually am using cones. You can see how kinky this is, okay? It's just part of being a really high spun thread. So I have it here. I put it through the hole here. And what this is doing is it's unkinking, except for I just put a kink in, it's unkinking itself. And the other thing about the Thread Tamer is it's bringing it up above your machine. So we have this little hook here. Then I'm going to thread my Bernina like you normally do. And I have a, I think I have an 80 needle in here. Goes through my threader. I'm gonna hook it up here. Okay, now I did a Kaffe stitch because of course I'm on a Kaffe machine, so I should be using a Kaffe stitch. And let's see, if you're using this in embroidery, I have slowed my machine all the way down for showing you this. But if you're in embroidery, you can't go full tilt. Just know that it's a finicky thread, but it truly is worth it. So you can see my clouds. This is with the same color spotlight as what I'm doing. Now, if I tried to put the thread on my machine, I would not be as successful as I am here. It really does make a huge difference because it's so tightly spun and it needs space to unwind enough to be able to stitch. There we go. This is the best metallic thread there is. Wonderfil creates the best. Please, we have it on sale right now. Please try to test it out and just try it. One spool, you can try it. And I honestly threw all the rest of my metallic thread out. Well, I mean, I didn't. I used it for other things, but I didn't use it to sew with anymore. I did not do this. So I think that that's really important.
Don't lie to them. You don't throw stuff out.
I don't throw stuff out. Then, okay, so I don't do a lot of embroidery, and I'm just starting. I'm very excited about the Kaffe machine and the embroidery options. I just think they're very exciting. Lots of things are going to be happening with Bernina's this year with computerized quilting. I'm really psyched about this. And trust me, I was petrified and scared of embroidery. So what I did on these flowers, which I didn't worry about what they told me to use my thread. I just used my own thread. So this one, there's two of them where here's a metallic in here. Okay, and here's another metallic in here. This is a multicolor metallic. Okay, so I just used it to replace one of the colors in the flowers. And you can see, this is my first foray into embroidery. So I, did make some mistakes, and I will stitch more over them. So I'll probably hand stitch those holes closed or put some beading on it or something. So you can use it as just a spark. It doesn't have to be the whole thing in metallic. It can just be enough to accent it. That's really nice. And then the other thread we have is Glamour. Now, that was first made as a hand stitching thread, a size 8. But we all said, no, we need to put it through our machine. We need to put it through our machine. So this is a piece of Glamour that's there. And I did use it on here. So here's the clouds, and this is done in Glamour. So it's now a size 12 instead of an 8. An 8 is Dazzle. Yes, Dazzle. Dazzle is an 8, and that is a hand stitching or bobbin work. So there's that. I think it's a lot of fun. I wanted to make sure I showed you the thread tamer. The other thing and these don't seem that important until you have to clean the embroidery thread box like I had to do my little project. So these are Wonder Guards. They are, Wonderfil does not have any slits where you can put a piece of your your thread to hold the spool, so you have to use a Wonder Guard, and they're actually can be used multiple ways. So this is what they are. I can use it for this. I can use it if I have like a rayon, sometimes can really pull off the spool really quickly. So let me see. So what you do is, instead of making it tight, you slow down the pull off the thread by putting the Wonder Guard on there lightly. Now, if I'm packing it up, what do you want me to do?
Just go a little bit more, just because I've got a close up.
Okay. So that's how I would put it in my thread tamer. I would put this right in there, and I'd use the Wonder Guard to slow the thread down so that it's not going to puddle. Rayon will puddle. And then if I'm packing with it, or I'm done with my threads, I wrap it tightly around here so I don't lose all my thread. So it's great for both ways. It's used that way. We do have pre-wound bobbins. They do not have pre-wound bobbins for the new Bernina large bobbins yet, but each one of these bobbins fills one of those big ones. So if you don't want to buy the spool, you can buy these packs, which are discounted, and you know that your large Bernina bobbin will fill with this. And I just wind it. I put the bobbin up here on this one, and I wind my bobbin. So it comes in lots of different colors, all kinds. The bobbinators, Invisifil. Then we have these packages of specialty threads. I also think that these are really interesting to try if you can get some melody type threads where it's spotlight and glamour and other things, cottons and rayons, because then you can experiment and try out the different types of threads that they have. And all of the thread packs are currently 25% off until Wednesday. So it's a limited time only. All right. The other thing I'll tell you kind of is I keep a jar. Again, this is another Liz. So I keep a jar with my threads that I cut off and everything. And I'll show you what we'll do with these on another day, probably January, what we'll do with those. All right. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
No, that's it. Oh, we didn't talk about the quilt on the left.
Oh,
We did talk
no,
about
we
the hat
didn't.
box.
Yes, we did talk about the hat box. So this is a new Tilda collection. It's called Hometown. This sample was made by Barbara, who absolutely did a fabulous job. We sent it out and had it long ironed by Susie. And it's there is directional fabric in it. You know, the trees and the houses. If it was me making this, my trees and my houses and my women would be upside down, or cattywampus, or whatever. But she did a really great pattern. I think the pattern is called Taylor. And this fabric is new. It was announced in the Wednesday newsletter, so it is brand new Tilda collection of fabrics. We still get their dots and their basics and their wovens. We still do have some of their older collections. It sells out very fast. So if you're interested in Tilda, and we know Tilda's got a cult group going, because I'm one of them as well. I love her stuff. And come and you can shop online and shop in the store. So, anything else?
No, there is one question that I'm going to have you answer in the comments after we get off here. It's about the B770 thread issue. I haven't forgotten about you. Just a little bookmark.
All right. Well,
and then
you're welcome to call the store too. So I am here today. We will look at that.
And thank you everyone for the nice comments.
All right.
I'm glad you tuned in.
Okay, thank you for joining us, and we're have a class today, so we're looking forward to that. And hopefully you will be doing something creative today yourselves, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.